Hey family, how's everybody doing today? I'm back and I'm excited to talk to you. Really energetic today to talk to you. We're starting a new series today, and today the series is called Pursuing Love. Knowing, understanding, and handling. Now, today we're going to talk about relationships. And I know some of you are probably going to tune out because you really don't want to hear about relationships. But I believe if you stick around and listen to me for a few minutes, we can start to understand the principles found in the Bible to help us have better relationships, better marriages. In fact, I would go on record myself by saying what's wrong with the world today is we have forgotten how to love. We have forgotten what love means, how to handle it. Now, I was really going back and forth on what I really wanted to talk about this week. But with the phone calls that I got this week and the conversations that I had really led me to talk about relationships. And I figured with summer around the corner, with weddings coming up, proposals, new relationships. You know, it's summertime. It's starting all this what we talk about with love. And next week we'll talk about how to handle conflict when problems come. So this is part one, and today we're going to talk about love. And let's start in Ephesians chapter 5. We're going to look at verse 25 through 33. It says, "Husbands, love your wives just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her, that he might sanctify and cleanse her with washing of water by the word." Continue verse 27. "That he might present her to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she should be holy and without blemish. So husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself, for no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as the Lord does the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, of his bones. For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." Now I want to stop there for a second because I had someone tell me one time that I disowned my mother when I left her. But we see here in the word, in verse 31, it says, "For the reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." That is when you find your significant other. You become one. "Nevertheless, continue verse 33, "Nevertheless, let each one of you particularly so love his own wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband." You know, when we learn that God is first in everything works together moving forward. Every relationship that you encounter, when we understand that God is first and what love is, every relationship that we encounter always moves forward in the right direction. I want to tell you guys that love and marriage requires work. If you're not ready to work, then don't get married. I'm not talking about physical work here. Physical labor is not what I'm talking about. Your job is where you go to make money. I understand that. That's your work. But when you come home, you better be ready to work too. And if you're not ready to work when you come home, then you're going to find yourself lonely again, because marriage and love and relationships require work. He also tells us that love is patient, love is kind, it has no evil, and it does no envy. Why do I speak of evil? Because the enemy plainly tells us in the Bible that he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And if we're not loving and we're not putting God first, then the enemy's going to invite himself in, and he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. He will destroy that relationship completely. And real love will cost you something. I'm going to say that again. Real love will cost you something. You know, early on in my own relationship, my spouse really showed me what love was. Early on in a relationship, like I said, I would take her out for dinner, just like anybody else would their spouse. But she would talk to anybody. She would help anyone. And I was like, do you know them? And she would say no. And I would be like, well, you better be careful or they're going to give you a job around here. And she was even better at helping the customers than the staff was. Amen? And I told her if she keeps on, she's going to be employed around here at that dinner restaurant. She even goes out of her way to even show me what love is. You know, sometimes I'll be thinking something and she speaks it, and I'm like, how did you know that? Or sometimes I tell her I'm going to do something, and then she goes out of her way and she does it for me. That's her showing that she loves. You know, I ask myself why sometimes. Why does she do that? It's because something has been ingrained on the inside of my spouse. There's something on the inside of her that says, I want to show people what love is. I want to help others. And she still does it till today. She will go out her way to help anybody. But she's just like Jesus. She's just like Christ when it comes to that. She goes out of her way and shows everybody around her what love is. And I envy that. And I am so proud of her for doing that. I also want to say that one thing that I had to learn early on in our relationship is I had to take the pressure off of her. Take the pressure off of him if you have a husband. And what that will do was that will set you free to know that they can't be everything you need them to be. It's something that I had to learn early on in my relationship. My spouse cannot be everything that I want her to be. Only God can do that. And when I took that pressure off, we became better together. We became stronger together. We become as one. We become as a team together when I take that pressure off her to be everything I wanted her to be. And now that I've learned that God is all I need, of course I want my spouse in my life, don't get me wrong, but she cannot be everything I need her to be. Only God can do that. Only God can do that for you. Your spouse cannot be everything you need them to be. Hear me, family. Only God can do that. And when you take that pressure off, the two becomes one, and y'all become stronger together. You become better together. You become compatible better together. Stronger together, become one, become a team together, and fight this thing we call life, this thing we call love, this thing we call relationships, the thing we call marriage. We become better together when we understand what love means. I also want to say today that, I heard one time someone tell me if they had a wife, this is what they would do. Well, I got news for that person. You said all you needed to say when you said, if I had. That tells me right there that guy wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for a relationship. So how could he give me advice on what I'm going to do in my relationship when he's not even married himself, or he's not even in a relationship? Be careful whose advice you take from. I had to learn that early on in our relationship as well. I also heard a preacher one time say that if you have a desire to be married, you better have a duty to keep it burning. That is so true. If you have a desire to be married, it is your duty to keep it burning. You got to find ways to keep that love strong, family. Love and marriage requires work. You know, Paul tells us one time in Corinthians 1, chapter 13, he says that you and I, we can move mountains. We could have faith. We could go out and feed the poor. But if we do it without love, then it means nothing. It profits you nothing when you do it without love. Instead, go out and help others with love. Have faith with love. Go out and feed the poor with love. Do you know that do you know that love is the highest against spiritual warfare? It will keep the enemy under your feet. When you have love first, it will keep the enemy under your feet. Don't invite the devil in, family. Family, as I close, I want to say, if you are married or single, and you really want love, remember to love, we have to remember we have the grace of God, and that is the best gift. If we have the grace of God, then we can really learn what love is. I hope you guys have enjoyed this message. Again, next week we'll be talking about conflict, how to handle conflict. Today we talked about love, learning to love like Christ, as Christ loved the church. Hope you guys have enjoyed the message. Until next week, I hope you guys have a blessed week, and we'll see you then. Thank you. Hey family, just before you go, I want to thank you guys for watching. And, click the share button. Share it with a friend. Help me spread the word of the gospel. And also subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Comment below. Let me know how I'm doing by getting the word out. Let us know how we're doing as a channel. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a blessed week. Until next week, thank you, and may God be with you.